Okay, we're live.
All right. We will call the meeting to order at 6:02 p.m. And we have an agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Grant, I will make a motion.
Thank you, Jeff. And a second, please.
Franklin, a second.
Thank you, Mike. Anything to add or change on the agenda? Hearing none, those in favor of approving the agenda as presented, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Secretary's report. I will entertain a motion to approve the secretary's report that was included in the board packet.
Rutland County will make a motion.
Thank you, Mike.
Addison seconds.
Thank you, Louis. Any amendments, corrections that anybody came across in reviewing those? Hearing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Thank you. Treasurer's report, Patty.
Okay, so I did send this out via email. And just a reminder, this data is through the end of January, so it does not include any February numbers. So for membership for the month of January, the monthly activity is about 355K, which about 79% of the budget expectations when you include that $10 increase. If you look at the year over year, 73% this year if we take out the $10, which is about 5% less from last season at this time, or about 143K less. And again, the numbers are through January. Income in general, about 420K was in income, of which 355K of it was from the membership. We are about 70% of our expected income budget, which includes the $10 increase, or about 6% less than last year at this time. If you take the 10 out, we're at about 66%, or 10% less than we were at this time last season. And then for expenses, monthly expenses, there was about 212K, of which 139 of that was in trails, and 124K of that trails money was actually in grooming payments. I also put a little blurb in there about the GPS equipment and contract expenses, just to give an idea. You can see that the line item, what the budget year to date is and what's remaining, just to get, since it's a topic of conversation, so people have that data on that. And then, and my papers here, sorry. I did the trail stuff as well, the trail data. So you will see the encumbered stuff in the years, our final numbers, and then January 2024 is actually season to date. 56K was the monthly activity there, and so far this season about 251K in just regular projects for from the trail committee. Flood relief trail work. The monthly activities broken out there from October, November, and December. And then January, we had this month paid out about 109K in flood relief trail work. And the season so far is about 368K. And total for the season in general, if you add both the flood stuff and the regular stuff, about 619K has been paid out in trail work, combining those two things. So a lot of money's gone out. And the charts I added a bar in between the actual number where we are season and then the budget number, so you can get an idea of the how things are going. So if we look at the charts and they're at the very bottom on membership 21 and 22, our bars are really tight at that this time. Those particular years we were right on target with what our expectations were. Then it talks, we start getting a little bigger bar when it comes to January 2023, and then you got with and without the $10 there. And same thing goes for the income with and without the $10 in the January number. So you can see the bar gap there between the actual, again, season to date number and the budget number. Now, the expenses, same thing goes there, but you will see that you actually want a bigger bar in that. You want smaller bars in the income and membership. You want bigger bars when you get to expenses, right? Because you're not spending as much money. And you can see, and I know I brought this up last month, January 21 and January 22, the bar was much bigger than if you compare January 23 and 24. And that's because, again, of the rates that we changed for the grooming and the startup payments for the, across all classifications. So you can see the difference in there. But overall, we're doing pretty good. I mean, considering the weather, I think. So that's my report. You all have this in email. If there's any questions, you can always follow up with me, or I know Jeff's going to open it up now.
Thank you,
That's what I
Patty.
got, Jeff. Thank you.
I will entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Grand
Quincy Patty
Isle,
make the motion to approve the treasurer's report as presented.
Okay.
Grand
we'll take-
Isle will second.
Thank you. We'll take Windsor for the first and Grand Isle for the second. Any questions for Patty? Any discussion?
When she says the flood relief, is that coming out of just what we got from the block of money we got from the state?
Yes, just the 750. I'm just
The
tracking the
750.
750. Yep.
Yeah, okay. Was there any requirement that we show what that went to or anything to the state, or we just get that money for trail use and use it where we see fit?
There were no stipulations. It was just to be used for flood relief. That's the reasoning that, we went in there
Yep.
and that, but there was no contract or anything, and they're not asking for reports. They're just, under the assumption that it's for flood relief. Like, it wasn't like which flood, like we had another flood, right? We had a couple more, another major one in December in certain regions, so.
About 49% of that money has been used of the 750 through January. I just want to reiterate that.
Anything else for Patty? Okay. All those in favor of approving the treasurer's report, say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nothing tabled, no old business, new business. Cindy, TMA update.
Yeah, so believe it or not, we've processed 110 TMAs in the last 5 days. And so we are actually right at or just to pass regular season out of state from last year. We're still down regular season for in-state. And so I think, right now we're about $100,000 behind where we were last year at this time. For revenue, and that's without the club dues. I'm not counting in the club dues that we collected. So unless we get some major snowstorms after this major warm up this week, we might end the year there. But we're also right now projecting to be under $1 million for grooming. And that's where the majority of our money goes. So I think Matt was quoting me right under 900,000 the other day is what he's projecting so far, but it's still early. It's only the end of February. We have high hopes. We still have clubs open. We still have grooming going on. We've got riding in the Northeast Kingdom, and we have riding down in Woodford, as well as a few other pockets right now. I will send you all tomorrow. I will email you the TMA reports so you guys have them and can use them for your county meetings. And that's all I have, unless somebody has any question or anything.
Thank you, Cindy. TMA sales incentives, item B.
So I've just been kind of brainstorming about how we can incentivize people to buy early bird. We do know that, there's been less of a price gap between early bird and regular season. And a few years ago we did some raffles for like VAST t-shirts and stuff, but I thought, what if we every year buy a snowmobile at cost, go to a dealer and see if we can buy it at cost, and then we do a raffle for anyone that buys in the early bird season. It seems to me a pretty small investment, if we can get it at cost compared to what we might be able to generate in early bird. And I don't really want to go and ask for dealerships to donate. I think, they're having a tough time too. Even though if some of them sell ATVs, their ATV sales are up, but this is about supporting snowmobiling. So I just wanted to throw that out there and see what people thought about it. I mean, and the other thing, and what the other side to it too, is that I know, we talked about this, we just had executive committee meeting, that there are some clubs that do raffles, and stuff like that. We're not trying to compete with the club raffles. This is before the season starts, and any extra money, any extra TMAs we sell, the clubs get revenue from that. So I don't know, just trying to think outside of the box here.
Cindy, I think we should make the differential between the early bird and the regular season a little bigger. Maybe by cutting back on the early birds for the same amount it would cost us to buy a sled.
That's probably like $10,000 or $11,000. So I don't think it's going to cut that much off of the early bird if you counted all the numbers up, but I could run that. It might just be like 50 cents or something. I don't know, Pat, but that's a good idea. I mean, all ideas are welcome. Doug's got his hand up too.
I just wanted to respond to Pat real quick before you, Doug, sorry. That's one of the reasons I wanted to have a long range planning committee meeting this week, so that we can start talking about these things. And that's one of the ideas I had too, Pat. So right after this meeting, I'll send out an invite for that, so that we can have that meeting and start talking.
So, okay, thanks, Mark. So Patty, or Cindy, so what would happen is, would they be automatically entered with one chance to win with each TMA purchased, or would they have to purchase a ticket for that when they purchase a TMA, or how would that work?
No, they would just, every snowmobile that had bought a TMA would be entered. So if you're TMAing 5 snowmobiles, you get 5 entries.
Yeah,
And we
yeah, I
can
see.
just run it right out of the database. So there wouldn't be any additional tickets or anything. It's just like how we did it with t-shirts a few years ago. Everybody who bought by a certain date got mailed a t-shirt kind of thing, or got entered into raffles.
All right, thanks.
We did that snowmobile thing one year. I don't remember. Pat, you remember what year that was?
I don't.
It was Cindy's second year, I think. It was Polaris, as I recall.
Yeah, so that was the no snow year.
Yeah.
No, it was the year after the no snow year. It
Was
was
it?
16-17. Yeah. Because we got so scared with no snow in 15-16. Yeah, and it worked out well.
You'd have to sell quite a few additional tickets to cover the $11,000 though.
100 tickets. I mean, 100 TMAs would cover the cost of the
Yeah,
sled.
but that's just covering it. I mean,
Right.
a certain part of that's gonna be a cost, and we got a service, so you'd have to take out what gain there is. But yeah, I mean, we just have to look at it. I mean, it's a good idea, just make sure it covers itself.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at how far we're down with early birds, I don't think it would be that much to cover it. And yeah, and it could be that only half of it got covered. I mean, you never know what people are going to do, but the year that we did it before, we did actually sell quite a bit. Early birds, just incentivize people to go ahead and buy early. Jeff Halpin has his hand up.
Yep. Go ahead, Jeff.
I think it's a great idea, Cindy. We do it every year for the Mad River Ridge Runners for our Calcutta. Usually Waltz. There's a couple different dealers. We've kind of shared it around. They usually will give you some sort of incentive and get it at their cost with some rebates that they have. I think we were at like 9,800 this year. For one thing I will say is we found that going with just a no name, or, let's say a lesser sled, the cheapest you can find kind of thing, didn't do as well as actually spending the money and getting the Renegade with the long track and something that someone actually really wants to keep and ride. So if you're going to do it, for the little bit of money that it is between those models, it's worth doing a nice model that catches people's attention that we can advertise really well. That's about it for me.
Thanks, Jeff.
So I guess we'll talk about it at Long Range Planning Committee and come back to you.
Sounds like a plan. What else we got? FEMA funding, Cindy.
Yep. So I sent out the email. We were denied. We were denied because we don't, we're not eligible as an organization. It wasn't because the projects weren't eligible, but we were encouraged by the state to apply because there have been some differences on the federal level for FEMA, and they were hoping that we might be able to get through, but we weren't. And I did talk to the state a couple of times after the denial letter came back. And they just were like, yeah, it's not, you're not appealing the bridges. You would be appealing their decision based on the type of organization that you are, is why you were denied. So there's really no reason to appeal. But we just thought we would try it. And that's why we tried it on the 4 most expensive projects that were put in for the flood relief project. And I think it's still a value. And if this happens in a couple of years, because you never know. I mean, those federal laws will change with all the natural disasters in the United States. It's always worth the exercise. And that's all I have on that.
Okay. Thank you. Excuse me. Well, I guess our next item is Waterbury Bridge discussion.
So thank you. So this is just the start of a discussion about the large suspension bridge in Waterbury that goes over the Winooski River. It's a pretty big project. And so it's going to take some time to develop a plan for this, but it also could cost a lot just to develop a plan, not just to do the work, no matter what you guys decide to do. And I am not a bridge builder, but we have the engineering report that was done by DeWolf a couple of years ago. And I think that was around $7,000 to do the report. We can do another report. The other idea is to hire a consultant to gather the folks that would be that could bid on a project like that. The club, the Green Mountain Roamers, they're here tonight listening in. Whether we pull it out. Currently, the bridge is not stable. It hasn't been used in years. It's dangerous. We have people walking over it. It's got a large tree stuck in it. We know that the club has done some work regarding calling, and I just talked to Nathan an hour or two ago, who's the president of the club. They've called an arborist. They've gotten an idea of that, but they've got somebody that's got a pontoon boat that could get in the water, that could carry the arborist. But my thing is that we need more than just people that are willing to go and do it. We actually need permission. This is a body of water, so it's state owned. We would need to know from A&R. I'm not sure you're allowed to have powered vehicles, motorboats in the Winooski River that far up. I know you can get in from Lake Champlain and go up some and fish. So Agency of Natural Resources, DEC, possibly the Army Corps of Engineers. There's steps that that we would have to take. So it's not just who's going to pay for it. It's who are they going to allow it? Who insures the work? And stuff like that. So there's a lot of questions and hoops to go through. And I didn't know if the board just wanted us to start doing that and putting that together. What cost are you willing to put a price tag on that kind of work? Discussion of, where those trails connect. what kind of snow they get. You know, it's, there's a lot of things, there's a lot of moving parts. So, Jeff's got his hand up. Jeff.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Hey, obviously I represent two of the most concerned clubs that border the bridge. I've met with both clubs, and I feel what their biggest concern is there was some talk about taking out the bridge, what's there existing now, because it could be a liability. I agree with it as it sits right now, it's a liability. Their biggest concern was if it comes down and it's removed, even just the cables and the abutments stay, that it will put it further back forever being repaired. And I use the word repair because Matt and I have approached New Bridge thought there, and we've met over it over the last 4 or 5 years with DeWolf, and the New Bridge is astronomical in cost. You know, some will probably want $2 million, and it might even exceed that for something that's really useful. But repair at this point may be the way to go. I think personally, DeWolf is tired of the project. It seems to be very redundant with them, and they just want to call it a bad bridge and be done with it. Matt and I had talked a while back. I don't know if he still stands on this, where maybe a second opinion to have an engineer look at it and approach it with the repair idea at first to see, you know, maybe some pylons could be driven in, some steel, some reinforcement around the abutments, and then any kind of engineering that may help us lift the cables in height and to make sure it's safe for safe passage. I've personally looked at it. There is some undermining, but to be honest with you, I'd have gone across it this year. I mean, it really, it's not horrible, but it needs some attention. And so what I was thinking, being the trail coordinator here for Washington County, is to possibly have somebody take care of the lumber on there, because it's a hot subject right now because it looks like it's dangerous, and it is dangerous. Is maybe have someone take care of the tree, get that off the bridge so that it can cool down a little bit, and then possibly we could meet out there and look at it again with a second opinion and approach it that way, and then, you know, approach the two clubs where we, you know, maybe have some meetings on where we sit with it. That would be my recommendation on how to approach it. The clubs don't want to lose the bridge. It does connect, you know, to state forests for riding. And I know since the Trail 2 corridor has kind of disappeared on us, that it has become less important. But to the two local clubs, it's very important. And from some people that do ride some loops and like a long loop, it does make for a very nice ride from the Worcester area out that way, making a nice big loop down through the whole county. So that's my feelings on it. I've talked to the roamers and the ridge runners. They both like to see us do something with it other than just tear it apart and forget about it. And so I was wondering if we could head that way a little bit and just research it just a little bit more to see what we can do.
So what I'm looking for is a dollar amount, because you're talking about research and stuff, which I'm fully in agreement with. I don't care either way. You know, I mean, I care because I care about, you know, riding and bridges and stuff. But it's not just doing research, it's paying engineers to do reports. And I'm not sure how qualified DeWolf is. And I think they admitted that on suspension bridges. So it's finding a firm that knows about suspension bridges. And I just need some direction on, you know, how much money the board is worth. You know, I mean, I can call around, I can do some research, but it might even be an out-of-state firm.
My suggestion, Cindy, is that we reach out to the folks that were in charge of doing the Long Trail Bridge. Now, get me wrong, that's a very expensive bridge that they did there. It's an arch bridge. It would be wonderful we could have something like that, but they would know, I think, to answer the question we're looking for as far as who they use for engineering. And, you know, obviously not taking it to the extent of replacing the whole bridge. I don't believe we could ever do that without any federal money. but maybe they could point us on some of the smaller questions that you're having on that stuff there, you know?
It would the state uses VHB, and that's who we used on the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail. So it would probably be a bridge like what the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail has done. And it would have to be designed by somebody like VHB. VHB may be able to come out and say if they can fix a suspension bridge. I don't know. I could certainly, we have a relationship with them because of the LVRT.
Well, let me ask you, a bunch of years back, did we ever allocate any money for this exact reason to research for the replacement or anything to go towards the bridge? I thought we had some money allocated at one time for that.
Not that I'm aware of. No. I mean, we're still in the hole. The LVRT still owes us $1 million. We got to take that off the books. That's never going to be paid back.
We could put a toll booth up on the LVRT.
Well, it's state owned, but yeah. You got 3 people with their hands up. Julianne was first, and Stan, then Mike. Oh, you're on mute. Go ahead, Julianne. I think he said go ahead, but he's on mute.
I was just gonna say, are we talking about federal funds for this bridge repair? Are we not even at that point, or?
We're not even at that point. I don't even know how to where we would apply for federal funds.
Okay,
for the bridge.
and I think, and no offense to Stan or a consultant, I think Reeves and you and me, we could probably put together an RFP if we had an estimate of what it would take to put that together instead of paying a consultant, because that can be a lot of money. And the thing is too, with the federal funds, and I'm just throwing it out there because I'm dealing with it in my current position, is if it were federal funded, and I don't know if the state is going down this path for state funds, but there's Build America, Buy America, which is going to add another expense if we do any federal type funding. And that's all I had.
So the RFP, so if you go through someone like VHB, right? They design it, they're an engineering company. And so they would be the ones actually doing, they then go to the companies that have the crane operators and all that, and they put together an RFP for that kind of work. You know, we were just thinking if we were going to do this, we could hire a consultant to then line up those people, but we're not in any capacity able to do that. We're not an engineering firm.
Right. Gotcha. I came right in the end of that conversation.
No, it's okay. It's all good. Right. It's just, I think we just need to, you know, I think, you know, Jeff raised the issue, and, you know, I have worked with VHB, and that's what they do. Like, they lined up all the people to build the LVRT, including the bridges that were built in Maine, I believe, and brought over. Or no, they were out west and brought in. But
Michael.
Stan was next.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Stan.
Have you ever approached UVM to see if their engineering department wouldn't make a project out of this, you know, with grad students and their professors to do this work in the civil engineering department?
Nope.
Because that might be an avenue. You know, they might do it for nothing or for small money. Because those guys need those kind of real world projects.
Mm-hmm. Well, we could do that. We did reach out to them about doing an economic impact study, and they wanted to charge $5,000 a question.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They're teaching them billing too.
Yeah, I guess. Because I know, like, the engineering departments, and those guys need to have real world projects and internships and that type of thing to get their hours and their experience stuff. So
yeah, it's usually. I'm sorry.
I know OMG has. They bring in some interns that work on special projects, some stuff that's way out of our normal operations. You know, some stuff in the electronics world where we don't have any expertise. and they do it as, like I said, class projects.
Yeah, usually that's driven by like a VHB. VHB will hire interns from UVM, from St. Michael's, and that's part of their internship. So it's not somebody coming out like from, like us, a layman doing it and submitting a project, because we don't even know what the project would be. I can certainly call and ask, but I don't. Yeah.
Mr. Keller.
I was gonna say, kind of the same lines as Stan, and our projects have been smaller, but we've been very surprised if we just put the word out through our network and say, hey, this is what we're looking to do. Who's capable of doing it, or who has the time to help? And you'd be surprised how many of our membership are big company owners that they may not be able to do the whole piece, but even if they did some of this, you might get a lot of that, comped up front or something like that without having to spend a ton of money.
And
Yeah,
if I may, Cindy, just one more thing. I don't know. I wasn't going to bring this up at this section because I know we're going to go over it here later. But the funds that were allocated from the 750, if we don't end up chewing all of that up on the projects that we have in hand for water damage, some of that maybe we could allocate as a board to look at this project, not necessarily the whole project and doing it, but to have it, maybe another engineer properly look at this and take on this project. It was just, food for thought, because it has been water damage that's caused this problem. So I feel it falls under that. So we need to, kind of see where we land on the 750 money, maybe for that idea.
thank you, Jeff. Mike Burns.
Yeah, I don't, nobody likes to hear it, but I don't think you're going to get around with the size of that bridge and stuff, having an engineering stamp on it. But I think even before that, though, we probably ought to do a reality check. And just, if we get the Lone Trail people, I think I can find out who built a suspension bridge near my friend's place in Maine, and just get a reality check on what they cost. And if they come back and it's $3 or $4 million, then we probably need a reality check whether we want to even spend any money on it. I mean, I enjoyed having the bridge there, I enjoyed riding it, but it is a lot of money. And I don't know where we'd come up with that kind of money, and what's the benefit of it? I mean, I think we need to do a reality check before we even spend $5,000-6,000 getting an engineering firm to do an RP.
Yeah,
Mike,
I agree. I think that's why we're leaning towards more of a repair, Mike, than obviously the numbers scared us away when we first started looking at moving this thing upstream a little bit. And but I think, if you really go down and look at it, the biggest problem with it is not the cables or the structure, it's the actual undermining of the abutments that DeWolf was concerned with. And I don't think that would take millions to fix and shore up the thing. Would it correct the height problem and get us up higher? No, but it would get us back to where we have a functioning bridge and can repair it every year like we usually do to just keep it running.
Well, I'm afraid that since we have taken it out of service and deemed it unserviceable, no matter what we do to get it back in service, we're going to have an engineering stamp on it for liability reasons. That ain't going to be cheap.
yeah, and there have been other damage done since there's been more, what do you want to call it? Undermining, since that report. But Mike, if you have a lead on anybody, or if you could get in touch with your friend or any leads on engineering companies that specialize in suspension bridges, that would be a great place to start.
Yeah, I got to go up
Yeah.
Brownville I think either next weekend or weekend after, and I'll see if I can find out there, at least find out. We'll be there at the club and stuff. I can at least try to find out some leads on maybe a lead to find a lead.
That would be great. That's a great place to start.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Doug Jacobs, go ahead.
Yep, go ahead, Doug.
Hey, Jeff, I just had a question for you, Jeff Halpin. Is anything heavier than a snowmobile go over this bridge, or is that it?
No, sir. We try to do one at a time, just snowmobiles. Every once in
Okay.
a while, you get some crazy people that like to go in one direction with more than one at a time. But it's plenty strong enough over the years for that. Like I said, the biggest concerns are the washouts of the abutments, not so much the bridge itself, cables, wood, all that's pretty intact. I mean, every year Green Mountain and the roamers have been changing the ties and the clips and the treads and that. And even I was down looking at this year, and the washout is the biggest problem. And I think, at that time we were thinking about possibly rip wrap or pounding in some steel with pouring more concrete around the abutment that's there now, and then adding some large rip wrap around the abutments, that kind of stuff. But, structurally, all it's ever seen is snowmobiles, right?
Thanks.
So it sounds like we can keep looking at this. We're definitely not going to make a decision on it tonight. So we will put that under old business, and we'll come back next month with a little more information on companies that might be able to look at it for us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, everyone. Moving on, Trails Administrators Report, ED Report.
The only thing I'm going to add is that I have asked, and I only thought of it the day after the board reports were sent out, is that Mandy is going to start adding a report to the board reports, because she, since her job changed, since Ken left, her job has really changed. And, we have Tina on board now. But Mandy's doing a lot of stuff that you guys don't know about, that great things at VAST. And I think it's really important. I don't put it in my report. It's not going in Matt's report. So you will, starting next month, start seeing just like a 1-page document on stuff. But she's been working on turning all of our sign system now. When you go to buy signs, it's going to be in Shopify. We're just going to be doing the last minute or the last part connections of the accounting system for it. So it'll be an online store that you go and you put the signs, VAST signs that you want. You can design your junction signs, and then there's billing and all that. And so she's been learning about it and building this whole store on her own and doing a great job. She's been doing the e-news every week, and been consistent with that. She's also recently been building videos for the construction seminar, and taught herself how to do that. So a lot of cool things that she's working on, and I just thought that you guys should know about it. So she'll start including that, and I think she's really proud to be doing the work that she's doing and to tell you guys about what she's been doing. And she's very, very sick right now. She is on, I don't know why, she's got the flu, she's at home, but God bless her. She's here trying to take minutes, I'm sure, because Tina's still pretty new. And I've been taking some notes, but anyway, dedicated worker, that one.
Thank you, Mandy.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you.
Matt, anything you want to cover on your Trails Administrators Report?
Nope.
Okay. Any questions for either Matt or Cindy on their reports?
On the trails, have we tied any of the bigger projects or anything that we want to commit the remaining part of the grant, or not the grant, the 750 we got from the state from, or we just gonna treat them normally?
Yeah, no, good question. Patty also asked that question when we were in executive committee. So basically, there were some floods that happened later on, not just those July floods. We had another one in the fall, and then we had the one in December. And we know that clubs, they did a little bit of triage for the most part, but you can't work in streams. So that money, we think at this point, that money's just going to go towards the flood damage. But there could be, you guys could decide in the next month or two, once clubs get out, reassess after that last flood damage, what money's left over and what you want to do with it, as far as like, do you put it into the trails, regular maintenance fund, or what? Patty did mention that the 2 bridges in Windsor County that were part of those 4 were worked on by the club. And so as long as they went and got all their permits, they did everything that's required of them, we might be able to help by reimbursing them for that work. So she's going to get in touch with those guys and find out. And I know that there's other clubs that just pulled bridges out. Including the suspension bridge that was denied the FEMA, the one that's in Plainfield was pulled out. So there's no real plan for it right now. That's just kind of the recommendation.
I just have one thing on that, I believe, and we'll have to look back at the way it was worded, Cindy, but I thought we kind of worded it, what we didn't use out of that would be reverted back to its original purpose out of the 750 money. Not that there'll be a lot left, and there's a ton of water work to do out there from all this, but we should look back on the way it was worded as far as when we made that motion to go ask the state.
And Cindy, Barry is on. So Barry just got a brief from you. So Barry, I will be calling you to talk to you about bringing that to the Trails Committee to talk about the 2 bridges that were done. To see if there's any funding available to help them, since they had to foot the bill. They are a club that provides food, parking, and gas from specifically for one of the bridges, and the second parking lot is a very large parking lot. So I'll work with Barry. So thanks, Cindy, for giving him a heads up, but he is on here tonight. So we'll talk after Barry.
Okay, thank you.
They just sold that place.
Anything else for the 2 reports? Okay, I guess we'll move into committee reports. Mark. AORG.
Not much to report. We've renewed we're in the process of doing our annual reports, and that's about it.
Thank you. Northeast chapter and USA, Pat, anything?
I have nothing.
Okay. I can report on the Northeast chapter. We canceled our ride-in that was scheduled for the second weekend in February over in Malone. Lack of snow, but you can imagine. And we have sent out 3 scholarship checks, $500 each, to the chapter recipients. And the deadline for those is April 15th, Patty. Those will be our winning scholarships when those come out. So those get forwarded to Northeast chapter for review. And let's see. I think that's about it. Snow Trails Conservancy. Anybody? I don't think Jim's on.
Nothing new.
Thank you, Cindy. Law enforcement, Cindy?
Nothing new. Oh, Patty, just so you're aware, back on Snow Trails Conservancy, I did have Sheila just move the money that we owed them that was in the management report that we've been holding for them. I did have her transfer that over since it was voted by the board that it's their funds. So it's in their checking account now.
Sure, I'll look at the numbers and where'd that money go? When I get the next set of reports.
Yeah, I just had her do it last week. So.
Oh, that was the $1 or whatever per TMA.
Yeah, for 2 separate seasons. It was like 40,000 one year and 42,000 one year and 43,000 the next year or something like that. And it was just sitting in there for them. So just to clean it up and kind of move it over. Because it was we get audited every year, and it's just it was voted on by you guys to give them that. So we went ahead and moved it.
Awards and nominating. Patty.
Okay. Yep. So this starts the busy season for that's this particular committee. So the committee did meet last week. And really the focus of this pre-session meeting, if you want, is maintenance and operational items. And we brought Ruth up to speed on, so she's new to the committee, and how the scholarship process is going to work, the timeline, a high level overview of what the expectation is on the award side of it. We reviewed the forms. We're going to do some minor edits that were discussed. We also discussed, getting more nominations submitted by by members, and I'll talk about that a little bit more here. And we discussed the National Volunteer Week, which is April 21 through 27. We tossed around a couple ideas, but we're going to have to meet again to really finalize that. So that's a pretty big thing, and we'll probably advertise through the e-blast and stuff like that, utilizing those resources. A reminder, scholarship applications are due this week, March 1st. Award nominations are due by May 1st. Again, I would just want to reiterate, I know we've had this before, this conversation, quality versus quantity. It's really when the committee looks at it, just so you understand the message when you're talking to your county clubs, we can get 10 nominations that have 1 or 2 lines on them, and obviously the folks off, maybe even copied them from each other with the same exact text, and then you get one nomination that has some really great details in it. And it's not the volume, it's not the 10 nominations for one versus the one nomination that contains all that good quality detail. We look at that. So it's, if you have a bunch of people that want to do a nomination, have them work on 1 or 2 together and really put some meat behind it versus, just sending in mass amounts just for a particular person or club. If your county needs any overview of any of those forms or needs any help with it, submitting them, myself and I'm sure the other committee members are willing to do that. Just reach out and let me know. I can do Zoom. And we're going to, again, leverage Facebook, the e-blast or e-news. And I usually do, for the April magazine, a write about the different awards there as well. So we'll do that again as we have historically done. And that's in addition to you guys getting the word out. So we really count on all of you to send that message to your clubs in your county. There are 2 awards which require board approval. The committee does not decide on the recipients of these particular 2 awards. It's the lifetime, just as a reminder, and a partnership award. Partnership has to be submitted by May 1st to Cindy, the VAST Executive Director, and all nominations get presented to you guys for a vote. So I'm also going to leverage e-blast to get the word out on those in case anybody has any nominations they'd like to send in. So in all fairness, and the one that I always bring up is the Trailblazers. Remember your volunteer trailblazers. That's 25 years or more of volunteering. All submissions meeting that time criteria, those people get recognized. There's nobody that has 25 years or more that it gets submitted a trailblazer that does not get recognized. It's a great way to say thank you to people in your clubs. And it's an easy one. It's a very easy thank you. They get a pin, they get a certificate, and it just takes, somebody 10-15 minutes to submit something there. We're going to meet again probably in March sometime to start fleshing out some of this other stuff that we spent maybe 50 minutes on the call going through a lot of these little things just to get things rolling. And I think that's all I have on that. And I will send them what I just read. I have it typed. I did it for myself, so I stay on track. To Mandy and Cindy and Ruth. So I know all 3 of you got minutes going on. So I'll send it to you so you don't have to worry about what did she say. So I'll send you that email. And that's all I have, Jeff.
Thank you, Patty. Any questions for Patty? I know she's pretty detailed, but I'm sure she'd be more than happy to answer emails. If you got any questions, get in touch with her.
I think that Mandy could help with a video because she's really good at doing those now. If you guys want to do a video on how to do a nomination form and what to look at as a committee, that's something that she could help put together for you. And the other thing is we do have a professionally done video on our website thanking volunteers. So that might be something good to run during that volunteer week. Really focus on that, or spotlight it. That's the word.
Yep. I wrote it down. Thank you.
Policy and bylaws, Mark.
Nothing right now.
Okay. Annual meeting.
Ivor's there.
Ivor, there we go.
Amber's just confirming some dates for the hosting property. But everything looks like it's on track and going along well.
Cool. Thank you.
Any questions? No.
You
Not
So
that I
you don't, you
What is
don't
the
have a
start-
date? You don't
Yeah,
have a
what was the
date dialed in
target
yet?
September 7th.
Okay.
My ill-fated wedding anniversary. Sorry. Okay, September 7th.
Yeah, executive committee, we met this afternoon. Just kind of a brief gathering to go over some of the stuff that we've already covered tonight. I think we're probably going to start doing that on a more regular basis than what we have been. I don't know if it'll be monthly, but you know, probably every other month at least. Financial, anything, Patty?
Well, I know Cindy mentioned it in executive, but usually her and I get together and start talking about where the numbers are projected to finish in like March, April timeframe. And then April, May, we start really trying to work on the beginning process of the budget. So we'll be having those meetings in those timeframes. That's all I have on that.
Thank you.
Jeff, I just have one more thing, if I could, about the flood assistance and all that. Do we have an actual date? I mean, I understand the December flood happened also, and several clubs got hit harder than they did in the first flood. But is there like a cutoff date to where they should get their? Are we going to have ever have a cutoff date to where the funding to apply for funding would be no longer existed? Or are we just carrying it out that everybody says, well, it was during the flood, we lost that bridge and we'll just use from there? I mean, I guess my question is there ever an end date, or do we just go with, okay, that was hurt during the flood, so we'll cover it kind of stuff?
I would say that we've probably got enough projects out there that we can, as far as an end date, I don't know that we'll assign an end date to it, but we'll look at the projects as they come in. I know I expect to see some more, projects come in, this spring based on some of the stuff that's happened this winter. So we'll just kind of keep that open for now and see where it goes.
Our discussion with clubs we expect to use up that money. There's quite a bit of damage out there. So I think that over the next few months, we'll keep using the money and you'll have a better idea to make a decision. But at this point, there was no expiration date.
Yeah, there wasn't so much about the money as it is, some of the clubs they know they have to reapproach some bridges that were just washed right out and they're not even there right now. Should they wait, turn that into the June deadline, or could those still be turned in now? I guess was the reason for that question. Could they get their totals together on a full bridge rebuild and get that into us now, or should they wait for the June deadline for the like we normally have?
Yeah. I don't know why they wouldn't be able to gather their information now. I mean, because they're going to need permits and stuff too. And they're not even, what's the date when they can start working in streams and stuff? So I would always say, go ahead, plan ahead as much as you can and gather the data if it's not too wet to get out there, especially if you're going to deal with farm fields and stuff to get through, or, yeah.
Thank you.
Long range planning. I know you touched on it earlier, Mark.
We're gonna have a meeting this week.
Sounds good.
Sending out the invite right now.
Resource committee is still dormant. Trails committee.
I'm gonna take Brian's name off that. I just saw that.
Yeah, I thought we had that corrected, but obviously not. I do know that Matt and Kurt have been in contact and have reached out to trails coordinators to get topics for the next meeting. Email I saw today, they're planning on getting back to the third Monday. So it'll be March, the week before the board meeting. That way, any recommendations that they have coming out of the Trails Committee can come directly to the board the following week. So more on that, but definitely getting that out of mothballs and headed down the tracks again. But if I think we only heard from, Matt only heard from 3 or 4 clubs that had issues that they wanted to pose to the agenda. So my guess is if you do have a club or something that has a concern, get that to Matt probably by tomorrow so we can get the agenda put up. So, safety, Stan.
Yeah, we had a meeting, but we did not have a quorum. So officially, we didn't do any work. Covered a couple of topics that we've been working on, but hopefully we'll get a quorum for this month. That's it.
Thank you. Governor's Council, Pat.
Council is still meeting. Not a lot going on the trails, as you might imagine. State Police reported 790 students to date have completed the safety class. That was as of the first Wednesday of this month. They're seeing a few violations. I think State Police have written 1 no TMA, and violations are mostly for safety certification. Fish and Game has investigated 3 accidents, 3 tickets for no TMAs, and insurance violations and lack of safety certification, what they're seeing the most of. So that's nothing new. Those are the typical high flyers. A few of the sheriff's departments have reached out and are working at dual patrols with Fish and Wildlife for SUI. DMV reported 17,671 registrations across 12 states. And the FPR, Forest Parks and Recreation, has a public survey out for outdoor recreation, and it was on the e-blast that came out last Friday. So you might want to sit down and take, I guess it's a pretty lengthy survey. I haven't done it yet, but I understand it's going to take a while.
I can verify that the 10 to 15 minutes that they mentioned in the opening email is way off.
It did seem lengthy.
It took me probably all of an hour to get it done. And I don't think I fell asleep in the middle of it, but I might have. But yeah.
Can that link be shared?
It's on the e-news that came out Friday.
In that e-blast, that's right. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah. And don't be surprised. It's not really motorized related. It's mostly non-motorized, but we all know that story. But there are a couple of questions in there that pertain to snowmobiling and actually ATVing as well. So I think it is definitely worth the worth the time.
Worth the hour.
Yes. Well, my time's cheap, so
I wasn't going to say that.
oh, I fully admit it.
That's it.
So great. Thank you, Pat. So that brings us down to the end of that. Is there anything anyone else would like to bring up?
Yeah, I would.
Okay, you're entitled.
Just want to show you guys something real quick. I'm going to share my screen, and so just as a resource, we have on our website, we've got this forms page, and this is where the clubs and all the resource tools are. This is a volunteer recruitment and development and retention. This is a PowerPoint presentation just to remind clubs that this is here. This was actually created by Yvonne Rideout, who's my counterpoint in Manitoba. and she shared it last year at Congress. And it's just a great tool for clubs to use about volunteer recruitment, how to run great meetings, leveraging volunteer skills, creating a jobs list. Then there's qualifications and job presentation, or, you know, categories on the different jobs within a club. Managing, it's a great PowerPoint presentation. So if it's something that you want to share with your clubs at county meetings, you know, please do. She put a lot of work into this and is allowing all of us to share the information. And I just wanted to remind you guys, because I got that, you know, back in the summertime, and it's been up on the website. So I just wanted to remind you guys it was there.
Yes, Cindy. Anything else?
I'd like to ask if I could. Matt didn't have a whole lot of time. He shared with Cindy tonight on his report, but where are we at with the GPS and where we went with it, and where we're going with it, and what's people's thoughts on it and how it's working compared to the old system?
So it's a daily battle. It's a massive disappointment. And it is, you know, we are probably going to end up staying with Atlas Tracks, who supplied us the GPS units, and moved to Map Gears. And for some reason, we're just starting these discussions again with Map Gears. But there have been some units that haven't worked. There have been some units that are placed in the wrong position, and so they haven't worked. But then the other thing is that some of them, the majority of them are working, but they're not pinging when they should be pinging. And so that is more of a Atlas Tracks talking to Alpine. So we're thinking that the issue is on the Alpine side, but we're not. I just tell you that it's a daily frustration for us, and it's just been, you know, the last thing we wanted was to have the same problem 2 years in a row. You know, we thought we would be able to have this all fixed. And so Matt is going to be meeting with Atlas Tracks and tomorrow. So we're continuing the conversation at this point, but we understand that the frustration is there. And we are hearing from clubs. We've also talked about, okay, well, what if we just go back to groomer logs? Because the biggest thing the clubs are having a problem with is that it's not the mileage. Some of the mileage isn't correct. You know, but that sent us back in the Stone Age. So then do we do online forms, you know, for people to type in their log sheets, you know? So it's a work in progress. There's no answer yet, but we're on it.
The general consensus on my end that I've been hearing is, in our area anyways, which is pretty mountainous, that the old system worked much better. That's just on you know, just from feedback.
Yeah, no, we're hearing that too. I mean, we're hearing, like, I don't want you to think that the majority of them are not working, because that's not true. The majority of them are working, but there are enough that aren't working that it's not working. You know what I mean? Like, the program's not working, but so we know about it. We're on it, and just tell them that we know, and we're working on it and trying to get answers, and we're meeting with these companies, and they know how frustrated we are as well. And
is that all part of the application being down occasionally?
No,
Or is
that's
a totally different issue?
That's completely different. That's the hosting company for our online trail website, because they switched hosts. And so now what happens is we get all this massive traffic. So like on a day when it's going to snow, you know, when we get a big storm coming, all of a sudden everybody's on that map. So it bumps up our usage, and they think that we're robots. They think we're bots. So it's an automatic shutdown. That's why the website, all of a sudden the trail map will disappear. So that was a whole nother issue. So we're trying to switch hosts for that. We thought that was solved, but it went down for a couple of hours last week. So, yeah, but it has nothing to do with Alpine per se. It's the national hosting company. And it wasn't just ours either. There were other sites that they, for some reason, they have some kind of like spyware system. I don't know. I'm not an IT person, but it shut down a bunch of people's websites that they were hosting. It wasn't our fault. It was like all these other sites that also do that. There's so much traffic that it all of a sudden will trigger that.
I know.
They use
and I-
AT&T.
Go ahead, Mike.
Well, we're talking about the remoteness of it and stuff, but I mean, and I have no idea what system they were using, but I mean, we were doing groomer tracks in Mount Valley a week and a half ago, and it's a lot more remote there than anything in Vermont.
Well, that's what we don't understand. That we're asking the same question now, Mike, too. We're saying to Atlas Tracks, why is it working with Map Gears, but it's not working with Alpine? Like, why isn't New Brunswick having this issue? Why isn't Quebec having this issue? Why are we having this issue? Where is the problem? And that's what we're trying to figure out. Oh, yeah.
So that'll be an ongoing old business item too, I think. So
Yeah, I
As-
mean, it's ongoing.
as we get more answers, we'll pass on the information.
Well, I'll add a little humor into this. We're up in Norton, Vermont, Northeast Kingdom Snow Blasters. Our groomer was pinged at being at Bar Hill Spirits in Montpelier Friday night. The groomer operator was pretty upset that he wasn't actually there.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. All right. On that happy note, anything else?
Quick LVRT question.
Okay.
Is there a long-term plan for the Hardwick dip?
Yeah, it'll be fixed this spring. They're putting a whole new culvert in. They just couldn't get it in time.
Figured there was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and any picture you see of it does not do it justice until you're standing in the top of that thing thinking, man, this is like a ski jump.
It has actually become quite the attraction.
Well, we worked with the state on that. We helped them design the approaches and the signage and how far back to go to warn people and all that. And then they produced the signs themselves in their sign shop, whatever they were going to put out. But
I mean, it looks good. I just
good
hope
thing
it was going to
because-
get fixed before I was trying to ride a bicycle on it this summer.
yeah, no, because that trail's supposed to be ADA compliant, so they know it's right on their list for the spring.
You just want to hold your speed on the downhill, Mike, to help you make it up the other side.
It's a good thing those signs are there and you do see them, they're prominent. So it tells you to slow down. We did that last Sunday and had to help pull someone up out of it who broke a chain case partway up, coming up. Took 3 tow straps to get down to him to where we could pull him up.
All right. One more time. Anything else?
Addison County makes a motion to adjourn.
Washington will second.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it. And everyone, I thank you for your time tonight. And watch your emails for Trails Committee announcement on the meeting.
And TMA reports. Bye, everybody.
TMA
Have a nice
reports.
night. Thanks for all you do. Bye.